What is going on, YouTube? It is Primitive here, and today I am very excited to start bringing you all some BT8 content. And to start it all off, I am actually going to be bringing you a Imperialdramon deck list that I used to win what I believe is the first online BT8 tournament last night in the True Champ Games Winamat. Was able to go undefeated and take the whole thing, and I'm very excited about that. It was a very fun tournament. A lot of new things came up, plus being able just to play in a new format is very refreshing away from the blue hybrid, and I get to use one of my favorite Digimon, Imperialdramon, so I was very excited about it. So I want to go ahead and bring you all this deck list so you can get some testing in yourself, have a nice foundation of an Imperialdramon deck list that you can start with and make some changes. There are one or two changes that I would like to make this list after playing in the tournament, and I will go ahead and talk about those later in the video. But with that being said, let's go ahead and get straight on into it. Alright, so starting off, of course, with the Digitama, we do have the 4 Demi Vmon and 1 Upamon. With the Demi Vmon, we're playing it at 4 because when you swing with a Digimon with jamming, you do get to draw one, which is very important in this deck. A lot of people usually associate this card with the jamming Vmon, which we're actually only playing 2 of. This is much more going to be for the X Vmon with jamming and the jamming inheritable, because you're going to be able to swing with jamming itself. And then when you DNA Digivolve on top, you'll be able to swing with jamming and get the extra draw again. So it's a lot of draw power. It's very good in this deck. I was just playing 4 eggs at one point, but after playing against multiple Mastamons, it became very apparent that if I had a 5th egg, I would have had a much stronger win condition, because I would be able to have that one extra Digimon in raising, be able to promote and get that swing and not be worried about getting deleted or anything like that. So I did add in the Upamon. You could potentially put in another 5th egg, but I valued the draw. I want to try to see my cards as much as possible, which we'll see in here. There's a lot of consistency in searching cards, so I just wanted to go ahead and go with the 5 draw eggs, and it's worked very well for me. Now to go ahead and get on into the rookies, I'm actually going to go ahead and start over here with the starter deck Vmon. Now this one is very powerful. It does allow you to reveal the top 3 and add a Digimon to your hand with free in its traits, which is just about every card or Digimon in this list. It is very versatile. You can search out so many cards, and so it's just a very good card to be able to play. It is a Vmon, so it's going to work with just about everything that we need. It's a free itself, so you can recycle it if you need to, but just being able to research the top 3, being able to recycle a card back into your hand while also being able to develop a rookie is going to be very good, because you do want that early aggression. Then we do have the 3 EX1 Vmon, and then we have the 1 starter deck Vmon from the Ulfor starter deck. And now a lot of people are a lot more on the starter deck Vmon more so than the EX1 Vmon from what I've seen, but I'm a big fan of the EX1 Vmon. It allows you to extend your plays a lot. If you're able to get into a stack with the Imperialdramon where you're going to be able to swing, unsuspend, or even go into fighter mode, you're going to be able to extend your plays a lot. I really like this as the Digimon that's in my raising a lot more. The starter deck Vmon is going to be very good with its inheritable as well, because when attacking, if you have 7 or less cards, you get to draw a card. But from just the testing I've done so far, I found that after the first few turns, you're going to draw so many cards with this deck, be able to search a bunch of cards out, that you're going to go above that 7 card limit, and you're probably never really going to go below it. So I found it that in the mid to late game, the inheritable became mostly useless, and so I decided to cut it down. Right now, I'm just testing it at 1. I'm honestly considering just cutting down to 0 and playing a potential another EX1 Vmon or maybe another BT8 Vmon. We'll have to see, but it still does work in the early game. Being able to get those draws early, it's undisputedly probably going to be the best Vmon, but once you get to the mid to late game, it does feel a little bit useless. So I have been kind of on the edge with this card a little bit. It's good, it's bad, it's great, it's not good. It's kind of been a roller coaster, so I'm not 100% sure where I'm going to fit with this, but I do really like the EX1 Vmon. The memory gain is really good. A lot of people have been saying that they're not the biggest fan of it, playing it at 1, maybe 0 copies of it, but I like it at 3, just maybe 4, because like I said, it has been the most impactful inheritable from a Vmon from my testing in most games, because you're going to be able to just gain extra memory, extend your turns. Putting that on top of things like Davis Ken and Hammer Spark makes it so you can just make super crazy plays. Then we're going to be playing 2 of the BT8 Vmon here. This one's not as crazy. It is a very good card though. I have seen some people say that they should cut it or cut it very low, but the thing is that this is your search target for Megadeth, which is a very, very strong card. Megadeth is a card that can really turn the tides of many duels, and it can put you in really, really good advantages. So being able to have a card that can just straight up search it out is something that is very unique and very powerful. Imagine if we had a card in the past that could search out Ice Wall, for example. That would be a very powerful card. And so, although it's not the most crazy card, being able to search Megadeth itself does have a lot of value. So I do greatly value this card. I don't think I'll cut below 2. I was at 4, and then I cut down to 3, and now I'm at 2, and I'm happy with 2. I don't think I want to go any higher or lower at the moment, because, like I said, it is a very good card being able to search. Sometimes you want to search out something like your Dino B or your Imperialdramon as well, but mostly you just want to hit Megadeth because the card is so powerful. And then we have 2 Jamming Vmon, which, as much as I hate to say it, is probably the weakest card in the list. It is still a very strong card, obviously. A rookie with Jamming is going to be very good, especially when you pair it with the Demi Vmon egg to get that draw. And it's going to be very safe, and you can do things like go into Raidramon and tap Davisken to unsuspend it and stuff like that. But for the most part, a lot of the times with your rookies, you want to Digivolve on top of them into your champions, meaning that the Jamming on the Vmon doesn't really mean too much because you're not going to have an inheritable or anything. So it is a little bit weaker, but it is a pretty strong card. I'm playing it at 2 right now. I haven't decided if I want to go down on it or not. I did play it at 2, but this is a card where unless you're getting it on your first or maybe second stack, then you're probably not really going to get the Jamming off of this Vmon, and it's just going to be a Vmon. So moving on to the champions, we have 1 Lobomon. We'll start there. I do play the 1 hybrid as a finisher alongside the Omnimon that we're going to get to a little bit later, but Lobomon has been crazy. Yesterday during the tournament, I think I Lobomon for game more than I won with any other card. Being able just to have it sit there in hand, and you gain so much memory from Davis and Davisken that you can go ahead, go for your plays, swing, unsuspend, Digivolve into fighter mode, swing, unsuspend, swing, stuff like that, and then you can go in for the Lobomon for game. It's also just something that's really hard for your opponent to play around. Obviously, we do have Black War Greymon, so we have more ways to hit Tamers, but for the most part, Tamers are still very hard to get rid of, so being able to have something that you can capitalize on your Tamers for ending the game is going to be very strong. So decided to play at 1 Lobomon. I have considered potentially going up to a second hybrid, but I haven't fired the trigger yet, so we'll see how that will be after I test it. But for the most part, playing at least 1 hybrid has been super good. You draw so much with this deck, so as long as it's not in your security, you're pretty much going to see it just because you draw so much. And so yeah, I really like the Lobomon here. Next up, we're going to have the 4 X Vmon and the 4 Stingmon. I don't think there's too much to say here. These are kind of your main champions that you really want to have. The X Vmon, you can go up in Raising, and then you can promote Swing Jamming, get the draw with Demi V, and then you can play the Stingmon for the reduced cost of 3, which will allow you to then DNA Digivolve into Imperialdramon or Dino Bmon for free, and you can really start to get your combos going. So you want to max out on the XV and the Stingmons just because you really need to start get your DNA Digivolve going so you can get up into your Imperialdramon, and so these two are just going to be doing it the best, especially with X Vmon having the Jamming inheritable, being able to swing with Jamming and then be able to DNA Digivolve into Imperialdramon to swing 2 more checks with Jamming and then potentially also give that to fighter mode later is super strong, and so these are very good. And then we're also going to have 3 of the Raidramon here. This card is just very solid. You know, you can Digivolve it in Raising, and then when you promote, you can get the memory gain on both sides from the Davis and Ken, so that's one thing. But being able to have a Armor Purge Digimon is going to be very good for being able to keep things sticking on the board, because if it does get deleted, you could just trash the top. But also you have the when Digivolving effect of being able to suspend one of your opponent's level 4 or lower, which actually has been huge, because you can then suspend something and then swing over it. For example, in the mirror match, let's say your opponent has an X Vmon out, and you know you want to get rid of that so that way they don't go Stingmon and start to DNA Digivolve. You can go ahead and go into Raidramon, suspend the X Vmon, swing over it, no problem, and you still have this Armor Digimon on the board that can use Armor Purge later to keep your Vmon on the board. So it is a very good card. I was playing it at 4, cut it down to 3. 4 felt a little bit too clunky. It is a very strong card, but you don't really need more than like 2 a game from what I've found so far. So 3 is a pretty good number, and I'm very happy with Raidramon. Then getting up into the level 5s, we're going to play 4 Imperialdramon and 2 Dino Bmon. Now, Imperialdramon just makes sense. This card is absolutely insane. Being able to bottom deck a 6k or less when you DNA Digivolve, while also being able to unsuspend when you attack, meaning that you can get 2 attacks most of the time with Jamming because of the X Vmon inheritable, is going to give you just so much pressure. And then if you have it with the Stingmon as well, if you DNA with the X Vmon and the Stingmon, you get multiple draws. Stingmon's inheritable is not once per turn, so if you get multiple swings with the Stingmon inheritable, you're going to get multiple multiple draws. So Imperialdramon is very strong. And then we have 2 Dino Vmon, which is the card that a lot of people have been talking down on from what I've seen so far. People aren't digging the Dino Vmon as much. They prefer the Chimeramon. Now, I haven't really tested with the Chimeramon that much yet, so I can't really say too much, but I can say that Dino Vmon is absolutely underrated. This card has been super strong a lot of the times when I was playing and testing as well in the tournament yesterday. Going into Dino Vmon a lot of the times was just way better than going into Imperialdramon. Being able to suspend something and have it unsuspend is a kind of nice effect, but being able to just suspend something so that way you could then potentially swing over it is going to be very good, because with this deck, if you don't have the aggression to go for game, sometimes you're going to have to kind of keep the board clear and try to just stay in advantage, and Dino B does that super amazingly. Plus, it has the inheritable of you get plus 1k DP for each color that you have, so when you go up into your Imperialdramon Dragon mode, it's going to be swinging for 14k, which means in the mirror match, you can swing over your opponent's fighter mode in security, or just on board if they have it suspended on board. But if you swing into security, it's going to be much safer if you don't have the jamming, and so it's very good. I really like the Dino Vmon. I'm definitely going to be testing Chimeramon in the future, and that's one of the changes that I talked about, potentially talking about here in the video, is you could change for Chimeramon. I don't have enough experience with it myself to really give you anything, but I can say Chimeramon is going to be very powerful, and Dino Vmon is very powerful in itself, so I think no matter which way you go, you're not going to be in too much of a disadvantage, just because both level 5s are super powerful in what they do. Then we got 3 Dragon Mode, 2 Fighter Mode. I don't think there's too much to say about this. Dragon Mode obviously is kind of your main thing. You want to be able to DNA Digivolve into Imperialdramon or Dino Vmon, be able to go into Imperialdramon and then play out your X Vmon or your Stingmon, or sometimes your Raidramon, but preferably you want your Stingmon or your X Vmon to come out off of the effect. And then Fighter Mode is just super insane. Being able to Digivolve for 2 on top of Imperial, be able to bounce a 10k or less, and then when attacking, you unsuspend and suspend one of your opponent's Digimon. So you can essentially have anything that's less than 13k. So if it's 12k or less, it's going to essentially be deleted by the effect, because you can just swing, unsuspend, and suspend their Digimon, and then swing over it with the Fighter Mode. So the card is super insane. It especially works really well with the hidden potential discovered that we're going to go over here in a little bit. Being able to play it out for free is a very devastating board clear, and so these two are very great. Then we have the 1 Blitz Omnimon. This is just, again, a finisher. I don't think it's super necessary. I was playing it at 2. I found it to be a little bit clunky, because if you ever have 2 in your hand, you're never going to go into it, so it became a dead card. So I ended up switching it out for the Lobomon to have the hybrid as a similar effect, and it worked out super well. I did Blitz Omni for game, I believe, twice in tournament yesterday. Used it once to swing over something that gave me a super huge advantage, but in testing I did Blitz Omni quite a bit. This card is something that you could definitely change if you're not liking it. I'm not going to say it's super crazy. It has been very nice. It's very convenient to have, and it's something that's very hard for your opponent to play around, because they'll think that once you're at 0 memory that you can't go for game, but you can Blitz Omni for game, and so it is just a really nice finisher, and it's a good buff up in security too, because if they swing into it with 14 or less into security, their Digimon is going to go down, so it is just a nice security buff. But for the most part, it is just a game ender, so if you wanted to play another hybrid, you totally could. Just a little bit different, because this one's Blitz, so you can do it on 0, so I decided to split 1 and 1, but you can definitely change that. Then getting into the options, we got the standard 1 Ice Wall for Hammer Spark. Ice Wall, of course, we want to play it. If we could play it at 4, we would, but we can't. And then Hammer Spark, I've seen some people playing 2 or 3 Hammer Sparks. I am definitely a 4 Hammer Spark gamer. Hammer Spark is just one of the most, if not the most versatile cards in the game. It's extremely powerful. Its security effect is insane, and it could just allow you to make so many crazy plays, especially when decks like this, where if you don't have your Davis Ken out, you can be 1, maybe 2 memory off of having just a really crazy play. So Hammer Spark comes in to save it there, so I like it at 4. I've seen people have success with 2 or 3, so you definitely could cut it lower, but I think Hammer Spark is way too valuable to not play at 4, because whether you're playing it from hand or from security, it's going to be just a card that will always help you. Then we got 2 Megadeth, and this is the biggest change I want to make, and I actually want to go up to 3 of Megadeth, because Megadeth is absolutely insane. Being able to suspend one of your opponent's Digimon and then return to hand a suspended Digimon is just so powerful for 5 memory. The things you can do with this are insane. I played against 2 X-Antibody decks in the tournament yesterday, and I Megadeth their stacks multiple times, and it's incredibly devastating, because then they have to build all the way back up. Plus, its security effect is use its main effect, meaning that if they hit this in security and have 2 Digimon on board, let's say they swing with 1 Digimon, they'll have that suspended, you hit Megadeth, you can suspend the other Digimon, and then go ahead and bounce back the original Digimon that attacked, and then you essentially just end all their attacks, because they're their other Digimon is suspended. So it's just a very good card. I was playing it at 2. 2 was fine, but I think I want to go up to 3. 1, so I can have higher consistency of seeing it in hand when I want to see it, and also having a higher consistency of having it in security because it's such a powerful card. So 2 Megadeth is probably going to go up to 3. I haven't 100% decided where I'm going to cut. I'm a feeling that it's probably going to have to be the Blitz Omnimon slot. I'm not 100% sure yet, but definitely want the 3rd Megadeth. You could potentially consider going down to 3 Hammerspark too, like I said, since people are playing 3, but I really like the 4 Hammerspark, so I'm going to have to find a spot for it, but definitely should be playing 3 Megadeth. This card is insane. Then we got the 1 Hidden Potential Discovered. Again, another restricted card in the list that you can only play at 1, but this card is something that I was really neutral about when I was first testing it, but then after I did my first HPD into Fighter Mode, this card's insane. Being able to go into fighter mode for free, be able to get its effects off, use the swing unsuspend effects are just, it's so devastating to boards. You can clear off so much. You can essentially go from being at a huge disadvantage to essentially winning the game off of just a quick DNA Digivolve and then HPD into Imperialdramon fighter mode. So Hidden Potential Discover, very good. I was neutral on it, but I do think it's very good. I actually only HPD'd once yesterday, but I don't think that's because the card isn't useful. I think it was the matchups that I played just called for me to be a little bit faster, a little more aggressive, and so I just never really saw the opportunity to play the Hidden Potential Discovered. But the one time that I did do it, it allowed me to go into my Imperialdramon Dragon mode for free, be able to get that Digivolve effect to be able to play out other Digimon, and then I was able to DNA Digivolve on top of that, and it just snowballed the turn. It was very strong, so I do like it at 1. And then to finish it off, we got 3 and 3 Tamers here. Start off with the 3 Davis. This is our memory Tamer. It's also going to be able to, on play, search the top 3, grab a blue and green Digimon, which works perfectly here because we have all kinds of blue and green Digimon. You can go ahead and grab dual color Digimon as whatever one you want. So let's say you reveal a Stingmon and a Imperialdramon. You can go ahead and grab the Stingmon as the green Digimon and Imperialdramon as the blue Digimon. And so you'll be able to double hit off this card highly consistently. Davis only gets better. This starter deck is where Davis is going to really shine, and it's just a great memory tamer and a great searcher for consistency. So Davis isn't going anywhere anytime soon, and we're going to have it here. And then speaking of Davis, we get Davis with his good old friend Ken here, and this card is also very powerful. At the start of your main phase, you are going to be able to gain 1 memory if you have a blue Digimon on board, and gain a memory if you have a green Digimon on board. So if you have a dual color blue-green on the board, you're going to be able to gain 2 memory. These are going to stack on top of each other, so if you have 2, 3 Davis Ken on board, you're going to be gaining 2, 4, 6 memory on top of the Davis 3 memory that you start your turn with. And then when you Digivolve into a dual color Digimon, you're going to be able to suspend Davis Ken to be able to unsuspend that Digimon when Digivolving, so that can make for some really nice plays, like when you go in with the Imperialdramon, you can go ahead and swing, unsuspend, swing, and then you can go up into the Imperialdramon and tap Davis Ken so that it's unsuspended. You don't have to worry about it getting swung over or anything like that, and so Davis Ken is just very powerful. I think we all knew that Davis Ken was going to be pretty powerful when we first saw it, especially with the Imperialdramon starter deck coming out being based around blue-green, and so playing it at 3, I will say sometimes it is hard to play this card just because you sometimes need to try and progress the rest of your game plan and try to search out other things. So Davis Ken sometimes is a little bit harder to play multiple of as the 4 cost, but it is one of those things where when you do play out the first one, you're going to get a lot of value. If it comes out of security, it's detrimental for your opponent because you're just going to be able to gain so much memory. So we are just playing the 3 Davis and the 3 Davis Ken, but that is going to go ahead and be the list. If you enjoyed, be sure to like and subscribe and give me your thoughts down below in the comments. I'd love to hear them because going into BT8, I am definitely going to be trying my best to do well at the regionals and the PPG events and stuff like that, so I'll be grinding a lot. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this deck, on the metagame, whatever you got. But with that being said, I hope you all have a fantastic day. I'll catch you next time. Peace out.